morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Oyster Radio. So today, I want to show you a really weird deck, which has gone and done really well over in Japan. It is a deck that plays no fewer than 7 different tag team Pokemon. It actually plays 8. 8 different tag team Pokemon. Now, we've seen decks of a bunch of tag team Pokemon at the moment. They're Mewtwo and Mew decks. That's nothing new, Wassy. This is new. This is a deck that plays 8 different tag teams, and one of them isn't Mewtwo and Mew. I know, that got my attention too. So, how does it work? Well, it actually all revolves around the Mew from Shining Legends. Yes, I know the Mew from Shining Legends has rotated. You've got 2 options at this stage. We can treat it as an expanded deck. It will be well fun and expanded. Or, just hold on, I'll give you a couple of options for how to replace Mew. Mew, for 1 Psychic Energy, has Legendary Guidance, lets you search your deck for 2 energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. And the key here is that it says energy cards, not basic energy cards, so you could grab something like a Rainbow Energy, etc. Oh, well, that's pretty good. The thing is, we no longer have this Mew. So what can we do instead? Well, there's one option we've already seen in a previous video: Porygon Z. The Porygon Z from Unbroken Bonds has a lovely ability that allows you to just attach a special energy as often as you like during your turn. You could pop that in and it would work nicely. But we've also got the Victini, which came out in Unified Minds, which incidentally we actually have seen in another deck as well. 1 Fire Energy. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards of different types and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. And the thing here is, well, don't bother about Rainbow Energy. Play a variety of different basic energy and then just search out the ones that you need using Victini. Now, one of the ones that we actually have here is Arceus and Dialga and Palkia, the Creation Trio. And for 1 water, 1 metal, 1 colorless energy, you do 150 and search your deck for up to 3 basic energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. So one thing that you could do very nicely here is actually use Victini turn 1, and then from turn 2 onwards, you can be using this to accelerate your energy. That will work rather nicely indeed. So, which tag teams are we actually playing? Well, we've mentioned the Creation Trio. As a side note, they've also got an amazing GX attack. 1 Metal Energy. For the rest of the game, you do 30 more damage for all of your attacks. 1 Metal, 1 Water Energy. You do 30 more for the rest of the game, and every KO you take an extra prize. Yeah, that's pretty gosh darn good. Now, we also have just a whole bunch of different Pokemon, and you'll notice that they're all different types. And what we're essentially doing here is covering as many weaknesses as we possibly can. So we've got Umbreon and Darkrai. That is the Darkness type one we've got here. And Umbreon and Darkrai, or indeed Darkrai and Umbreon, we start off with 2 Darkness, 1 Colorless Energy, 150 damage and 60 to one of your opponent's benched EX or GX Pokemon. That's kind of cool. And then 1 Colorless Energy, you just trainer lock your opponent, no trainers for them next turn. But then if you add on an extra 5 energy, which I'm aware is quite a bit, your opponent's active Pokemon is immediately KO'd. Yeah, that's pretty good. We like this quite a bit. Gardevoir and Sylveon does 150 for free energy, and it allows you to move your basic energy around your field as you like. Now, what is really, really good about this is that you're going to be playing around with a whole bunch of different energy, and this just lets you move it around as you like throughout the game. Also, 1 colourless energy, search for 2 fairy and attach them to your bench is fine, but you're only going to be playing a few fairy energy. The GX attack, free energy 200, 6 fairy energy. You do 300, your opponent shuffles their hand into their deck. Fun in theory, but you ain't getting 6 fairy energy on there. Blastoise and Piplup is very important. Blastoise and Piplup has a very, very nice attack for free energy. It does 150 damage and attaches free water energy from your hand to your Pokemon in any way you like, and you heal 50 damage for each one that you attach. But you're also hitting weakness on like Reshiram and Charizard. That's pretty important. You're hitting weakness on one of the best Pokemon in the game. And that's one of the reasons we do this. You're hitting so many different weaknesses that it's going to essentially work out in your favor because you're just hitting weakness on everything. Believe me when I say that gets pretty good pretty quickly. The GX attack here, 3 water energy or 2 water, 1 colorless, 100. 5 water, 1 colourless, you do 250, and they paralysis both times, but it's not good enough. Most of the time, you're probably going to be using Arceus and Dialga and Palkia's GX attack, so you take an extra prize. The whole point here is you're hitting weakness upon, like, anything relevant. Taking an extra prize is good. Machamp and Marshadow, not been the best Pokemon up to now, but what we have here is just 2 fighting, 1 colourless, 160. Well, that's enough to get a 1-hit KO on a Pikachu and Zekrom, or a Raichu and a Alolan Raichu because of the whole weakness thing, or the new Silvally GX. Yeah, relevant Pokemon. The GX attack again here, I mean, you're never going to actually, I love it. 2 fighting, 1 colourless, 200. 2 fighting, 2 colourless. If you would be KO'd next turn, instead of being KO'd, you go down to 10 health instead. Love that. But most of these GX attacks just end up being too expensive. Gengar and Mimikyu is another very, very lovely one we have here. And 2 Psychic Energy, Poltergeist, 50 damage, for each of your opponent's trainer cards they've got in hand. Now, you're also hitting weakness here against Mewtwo and Mew, which is rather lovely. I mean, sure, they can play Jirachi, but Jirachi ends up being 160 HP Pokemon on their bench, which you can try and take out for cheeky prizes. Now, this one does have a usable GX attack. 1 Psychic Energy, your opponent cannot play any cards from their hand next turn. And if you've got an extra Psychic Energy on there, both of you draw till you've got 7 cards in hand. You get more cards for next turn. Remember, your opponent can't play any on their next turn, which means you're hitting more. Yay! And finally, we see Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff. Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff is actually a colourless Pokemon, which is fairly upsetting, except 3 colourless energy, 60 damage base, plus 60 more for each EX or GX your opponent has on the board. Yeah, that's pretty gosh darn ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty gosh darn ridiculous. I mean, 1 colourless energy sleep, 5 colourless energy active as a sleep, and 200 to one of their bench is underwhelming, but against GX heavy decks like Pikachu and Zekrom, this can absolutely clean up. Now, I said that there were 8 Tag Team GXs. There were only 7 different ones. There were 2 different artworks of Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia. It put me off. I apologise. Now, in terms of the energy here, it really doesn't matter what you go for. Rainbow energy is great, though do remember it cannot be searched out with Victini. And then outside of that, just make sure you're playing enough basic energy to pay for the tag teams you want to play. One of the great things about this deck is that you can play whatever tag teams you like, and all you need to do is just make sure you've got the requisite energy. This is a deck that does not have to look very much like this. But it is a tag team heavy deck, so there are a couple of cards that are going to be hyper important here. One of the first ones you're playing here is Tag Call. Tag Call lets you search for any 2 tag team cards, whether they are Pokemon or supporters. Obviously, in a deck like this is huge. And then you just play a bunch of tag team supporters. The list we've got here actually does play 3 different ones. Mallow and Lana lets you switch to the bench and potentially heal 120 damage. That's pretty gosh darn good. Remember, all your Pokemon give up free prizes. Being able to heal them, yeah, that's fairly important, ladies and gentlemen. That's something you are definitely going to want to do. We're also playing Cynthia and Caitlyn here, and Cynthia and Caitlyn, right, it makes its way into every deck right now. It seriously is playing so much over in Japan. It's in like every deck list we talk about. You get to put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand, and then you can discard a card from your hand to draw 3 cards. It's very good. It sees a huge amount of play. Do not expect this to stop anytime soon. And we've then got Guzma and Hala. Now, Guzma and Hala is kind of wonderful, because Guzma and Hala lets you search for a stadium. Now, searching for the stadium isn't great, but if you discard a couple cards from your hand, it then also lets you search for a Pokemon tool and a special energy. That's when it becomes really, really good. As a side note, your stadium of choice here is Power Plant, because it turns off abilities, and you're not relying on abilities. GX abilities is what it turns off. Your opponent may well be, so this really does help. And while we're talking about our non-reliance on abilities, this would be a nice time to mention that this is a deck that plays Green's Exploration. If you've got no Pokemon in play with abilities, and you won't unless you go the Porygon Z route, in which case don't play Green's Exploration, then you just get to search for any 2 trainer cards. That's pretty magical. And we've talked about a lot of different supporter cards here, so Lieutenant Surge's strategy does become something you should seriously consider, because it lets you play 2 supporters during your turn. That's pretty gosh darn big. The other card which we absolutely adore here, well, there's 2 others I really want to bring your attention to. Firstly, Tag Switch lets you move 2 energy from one of your Pokemon, which is a tag team, to another Pokemon, which may or may not be a tag team. And as a side note, it is energy, not basic energy, so it would include Rainbow. You're playing a whole bunch of different tag teams, and you want to be able to switch between them fluidly to have the best attacker for the situation. That makes Tag Switch amazing. And Counter Gain. If you're behind on prizes, this will reduce your attack cost by 1 colorless energy. And firstly, you're playing so many different kinds of energy here that any help is appreciated. And secondly, the main attack we're going to be looking at for all of these Pokemon, with the sole exception of Gengar and Mimikyu, does actually have a colorless energy in the attack cost. So that makes Counter Gain pretty gosh darned lovely. And it is searchable with Guzma and Hala, which again is pretty gosh darned lovely. The list on the screen should be taken only as a rough guide here. This video is not about telling you a particular list you should play. It is about introducing you to the wonderful world of playing many different tag teams in one deck. And I think the only one you have to play here is the Creation Trio. They really are important, both for the main attack to accelerate energy and the GX attack to do more damage and take extra prizes. The rest, you can shuffle around to suit your metagame. This is a phenomenal deck, and if you're one of those people that opens a bunch of packs and you've got one of each tag team lying around but not enough to make any of the main decks, this is a deck for you. But I'd like to know what you think about this, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a lot of games, none of which have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.